Welcome back everyone, it's Charlie. This is going to be my new Spider-Man 3 Daredevil video. Recently several websites are reporting that in addition to Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, all the Spider-Verse casting announcements the past couple of weeks, Charlie Cox is also supposed to appear during the movie. So I'll explain what's going on, what that means for the Marvel Netflix characters in the future of the MCU. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. We're doing a giveaway for the Spider-Man Miles Morales video game for PlayStation 5 or PlayStation 4. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and let me know what you want them to do with Daredevil in the MCU now that they have the rights to the character back. There have been so many casting announcements the past week about this movie, everyone's just wondering who else is going to show up now. Like pretty much everybody you've ever heard of is going to have a cameo during Spider-Man 3. But starting with the big stuff, number 5. Earlier this year and last year, there had been rumors about Daredevil appearing in Spider-Man 3 in some fashion after Netflix canceled the Marvel shows and Marvel got the rights back. But if you didn't see any of the Save Daredevil campaigns that had been running, all the hardcore fans were trying to get Marvel to do something with the character and not recast Charlie Cox. Like, we knew that they were going to do something with Daredevil again, because when they canceled the Marvel Netflix shows, they said the Daredevil will be back. It's just that we didn't know what they were going to do, if they were going to recast or they were going to completely reboot the series. But right after Netflix canceled the shows, there was this contractual cooling off period between Marvel and Netflix that specified when Marvel could actually use the Netflix characters again in new movies or new Disney Plus series. The deadline for Marvel being allowed to use the Daredevil character specifically, again, just ended this past week, so they can do whatever they want to with him this week. They just happen to be in the middle of shooting Spider-Man 3, and they're making a bunch of other casting announcements. Typically, you only hear them make casting announcements when they're getting ready to need an actor to actually show up in a scene that they're filming. That's why a lot of times you won't hear about really big actors till right before they get ready to film with them, because they might not need them till the end of filming. Remember the other day when the Sony channel accidentally posted a Spider-Verse teaser video and then quickly deleted it? Their account was also posting Daredevil stuff the other day too. The cooling off period for the other Marvel Netflix characters is still going on right now, so right now it's just the characters from the Daredevil series. Anybody that showed up during that or debuted during that, they can use again. But because of all this, earlier this year, of course, as you would expect, Charlie Cox had been asked point blank several times in interviews what his thoughts were on all the Daredevil Spider-Man 3 rumors. And keep in mind that this was a couple months ago when he did this interview. This is what he had to say about that.
Yes, I hadn't heard those rumors, but I mean, it's certainly not I'm certainly not involved in any of that. I have not. If that's true, it's not with me. It's with another actor.
I mean, do you want to appear with Spider-Man? I mean, it's Spider-Man, right?
I just love. I'd love to. I'm very grateful. I had a great time. I had a great run of it. I couldn't be happier. I'm so grateful I got to play that character for as long as I did. But of course, I would love to keep going. I'd love to be involved with as much of, I love it as a fan of the Marvel movies. I love the little stuff that they do where they pop up here and there. And that was the one thing, because we were on Netflix, we weren't really able to do as much. I think for kind of legal reasons. I don't know why, but I think that was the reason. So I loved the idea of, Jessica and Matt showing up in the background, or Matt as a lawyer advising Peter Parker or whatever it is, would be really, really cool.
So during that, he claims he doesn't know anything about it. Oh, if they're talking about Daredevil showing up, then it's not my version of Daredevil. That seems like pretty boilerplate actor language, because behind the scenes, if they start saying, oh yeah, I'm definitely going to show up, usually that tanks their deal and they wind up going in a different direction. So they have to pretend like they have no idea what's going on, no matter what's happening behind the scenes. The only reason why Tom Holland gets away with stuff like that is because he is literally the Spider-Man of the MCU. Around the time he was doing this interview, though, was when we were hearing rumors about all the Spider-Verse stuff about Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire showing up, and at the time, Sony and Marvel just hadn't locked any of those actors under contract yet, so it was still firmly in rumor territory. But right now is a completely different story because they started filming the movie, and it sounds like most of the people have already been cast. I just did a video yesterday about Alfred Molina coming back as his Dr. Octopus from the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man 2 movie. Out of all the Spider-Man versions and different Spider-Man franchises, Tobey Maguire is supposedly the only one who still hasn't signed a contract, and apparently he was just spotted at a new costume fitting for the movie this morning. Just from the Tobey movies, though, Kirsten Dunst has been confirmed to have some sort of cameo during the film, and obviously Alfred Molina was just confirmed yesterday by a bunch of news outlets. So pretty safe bet if they're coming back, especially if Kirsten Dunst is coming back, then Tobey will sign his contract eventually. But just speaking about Daredevil in the MCU and Daredevil Spider-Man crossovers, if you're not a big comic book reader, Daredevil used to cross over with Spider-Man comics all the time. Daredevil is even one of the other Marvel characters that has worn Spider-Man's costume on separate occasions to help fool people into thinking that Peter Parker was not Spider-Man. Like, I can't be Spider-Man because look, there's Spider-Man in his real costume swinging around fighting crime. Wouldn't something like that come in handy if Peter Parker in the MCU were trying to clear his name? Like, see, Mysterio was lying, I can't be Spider-Man because that's Spider-Man. Daredevil has also been Peter Parker's lawyer as Matt Murdock before. They even did a version of that story during the 90s animated Spider-Man series.
This data will clear Parker. Get it to your pal, Matt Murdock.
I'm sure he'll be grateful, as I am, for everything.
Hey, we're even.
Since you and I appear to be on the same team, I should tell you who our real adversary is in all this. His name is Wilson Fisk.
And just for reference, Spider-Man has also worn Daredevil's costume before, too. They have traded costumes. They're total bros in the comics. It's just that before now, because Sony and Marvel weren't sharing the character up to a couple years ago, and Netflix had all those characters, and they had such a weird non-relationship with the Marvel movies, and it kind of seemed like the movie directors didn't want to have anything to do with a Netflix series. That's why it's taken till now, when Kevin Feige controls all the Marvel characters, all the Marvel movies, and all the Marvel TV shows. So he has a much larger toy box of characters to play with, and he can pull them out and cross them over however he wants to now. Because of course Daredevil, being a New York City-based vigilante, should know who Spider-Man is and interact with him every once in a while. It's just that Daredevil is mostly local to Hell's Kitchen, and Spider-Man typically travels all over the city more depending on what the adventure is. Just in terms of what scenes Daredevil might have or what they're doing with him in the movie, earlier this year, when Kevin Smith had set off a lot of speculation and rumors, most people theorized that Daredevil would cameo in the movie not as Daredevil, but as Matt Murdock, because until Spider-Man clears his name, he's on the wrong side of the law. Every single federal and international law enforcement agency is after him, in addition to all the villains. So if ever there were a time for a good lawyer, now would be it, calling up Nelson Murdock and Page. Yes, we do have She-Hulk coming into the MCU. She's being played by Tatiana Maslany. I can't wait to see what they do with that character. She's a lawyer too, though, and her Disney Plus series is supposed to be released during 2022. So a lot of people had wondered if she might show up during the movie for something like that, but I haven't seen any kind of rumors about She-Hulk since they announced the casting. I've only been seeing the Daredevil stuff. But if he winds up showing up, I'm only expecting a very short scene. There are already so many characters they've announced. People have been posting memes about this since the Dr. Octopus news yesterday. Tobey Maguire, Dr. Octopus, Mary Jane, Andrew Garfield, Spider-Man, Gwen Stacy, Electro. Michael Keaton's Vulture character is even supposed to come back according to his earlier interview with Jimmy Kimmel. So people are starting to wonder if Tom Holland's Spider-Man is going to appear in the movie himself. Oh, he is? Just a small cameo? What kind of movie is this with all these characters showing up? So it's most likely that all these other characters in Spider-Verse crossover people will only be in the movie a little bit each, like cameo scenes at best. And most of the movie is still Tom Holland's Spider-Man figuring out how to clear his name, defeat new villains, and making himself a new costume. Of course, he's probably going to get a new costume during the film. I know everyone wants to see him become more like comic book Spider-Man and start doing more stuff on his own, and one of the trademark things that he does is create his own costumes. So don't be surprised if we see a much more advanced version of a true homemade suit. They did describe Doctor Strange as being a main character, but a main character in the same way that Iron Man was a main character in Spider-Man Homecoming. And Iron Man was really only in that movie for about 5 minutes tops, just a couple key scenes. But just in terms of the future of Daredevil inside the MCU after this, if he does wind up showing up in the movie, it's most likely that they would cross Daredevil over with the other street-level heroes in the Disney Plus series like Moon Knight, She-Hulk, any future Daredevil series that they might want to do on Disney Plus. There's a big Disney Plus investor meeting, so we'll learn more about what's happening with all the new Disney Plus series tomorrow. So whatever ends up happening, of course I'll do videos for that. As long as you have alerts enabled for my channel, you should see all those videos. The only way Spider-Man 3 could get any crazier, though, is if they announce an actor for live-action Miles Morales or have some sort of full-blown Deadpool post-credit scene cameo. And just to be clear, I do not think that Deadpool is going to show up anytime soon. But post all your Daredevil MCU predictions in the comments. Do you think he's going to show up in the movie, and what do you think they're going to do with him in the MCU in the future? Congratulations, Tristiano Tricoci. You're the giveaway winner from my last big Spider-Man video. Please email me on the About page of my channel so I can get your contact details. Everyone click here to learn what's going on with Dr. Octopus in Spider-Man 3, and click here for my new Mandalorian Season 2 Episode 6 video. Thank you so much for watching. Everyone stay safe. I'll see you guys tonight.